Hello, Fish here with another BMS video. In this brief BMS video we're going to concentrate on ramp start in BMS 4.36. And it's going to be a quick start, so we're going to focus on only the items which are essential to the normal functioning of the aircraft in BMS. There are additional checks from the checklist that we're going to ignore, because while they add to the realism of the startup, they don't impact on the sim or the aircraft in flight. So with that in mind, we're going to look at one part of the checklist which is important, and that's around the engine start. So I'm going to pick up the page for the engine on the knee pad here, knee board, and I'm just going to focus on this. So we can see once we start the jet fuel starter, what we need to do is we need to allow it to reach 25%. The second light goes out at 20% revs, and as soon as we hit the 25% we introduce fuel by releasing the idle detent, and then the FTIT comes up to temperature. So the most important thing we have to watch is that we don't exceed 750 degrees. Our engine warning light should come off at 60% revs or less than, and our jet fuel starter switch will snap off at less than 55%. Hydraulic oil light is off between 15 and 70% revs. In other words, before we hit idle revs, which is 70%. So once we have a good engine start and it's settled at 70% rev, we're going to check the fuel flow between 7 and 1700. The PSI for the oil pressure is going to be greater than 15. Nozzle position greater than 94. And the engine revs will be between 62 and 80, and it normally settles out at 70. FTIT will fall back to less than 700 or less, but it should be around 650 here. And hydraulic pressure between 28 and 34, and as indicated here, it's going to be visible by looking at the needles. They'll be around the 12 o'clock position. So with that in mind, let's start our startup process now. And we're going to go to the left panel where we're going to switch our engine feed to norm, our battery switch to main power, our air source to normal. We're going to cycle our idle detent and switch it off again, and then we're going to hit our jet fuel starter. So 30 seconds to get the jet fuel starter light on. It normally happens at about 10 seconds. There it is, and now we're concentrating over on the right hand side. So we'll just take a view so we can see our second light there on our warning panel. It should go off, as you see there, it's gone off less than 20%. Once we hit the green needle, which is at 25%, we're good to introduce fuel. Let's hit our idle detent now. And now we need to keep a close watch on our gauges and warning lights here. So hydraulic pressure is the first one to go off. You can see that. At certainly well less than 50%. Now we heard our JFS switch off there that time, and again we're at 50%. Our needles have come up, but we're going to focus our concentration on the FTIT temperature, which should start coming back at 700. Okay, that's it, coming back down, settling back down. And now we can look at our gauges. Fuel is good. Oil pressure is good. Nozzle position is good. Idle revs, 70% is good. And our hydraulic pressure in the 12 o'clock position, you can see it's greater than 3000. And so that's a good engine start. Our engine light also gone off. And now we're going to come back to our avionics and the EGI switch to norm, and our 6 avionics power switches to on. Left and right hard points, fire control radar and radar altimeter to on. Oxygen to on and anti-ice to auto. Coming to the left side, need to reset our flight control system. Moving on to the ISS to standby. Our radio to UFC, unless we want to use the backup for startup. Pushing on to our lights. Set our wing and tail to on. Leave the position at steady, and our anti-collision to first step, which is number 1 in the flight, and then switch on our master. ECM master switch to on, and now we're up to the comms panel, and our comms, you have to give it a double click, and now I'm going to push them fully forward. Our radio master switch to main, ILS to full. Check our threat volume and our missile volume, all good, and just hit the radio switch and you can hear the clicks to indicate that the radios are working. And now up to the RWR panel, and we're going to close the canopy. Latch the spider, switch the main RWR power to on and search mode. Switch all our switches for chaff and flares to on, jammer and RWR to on, and program to manual. And moving forward, parking brake to on. And now I'm going to load our data cartridge from the right MFCD. And that's loaded on the left MFCD. I'm going to choose our test mode, and I'm going to clear all our warning resets. Clear the master first of all, and return our FCR, so no warnings there. And while I'm here, I'm going to change my HSD to the way I like it. And let's have a quick look at our list. Just return our DED page to check our radios, our channel 2 and 15. And now I'm going to find our takeoff runway. While our alignment is continuing, I'm going to find our takeoff runway and our QNH. And you can do this by talking to the common ground radio, or you can do it by choosing the ATIS. So I'm going to choose ATIS, and I'm going to come in 124 for 150. 124 150 on COM2. 124 150. Enter.
Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Sky conditions: clouds, few 5,000 feet. Temperature +09 degrees Celsius. Altimeter 2980 inches.
Altimeter 2980.
Ronki DEI Legionary, Information Foxtrot. Runway 11. Expect visual approach. Wind,
So runway
194 degrees, 14 knots, gusts 2-3. Visibility 10 kilometers or more.
So I've set my
Sky conditions,
course for the runway,
clouds,
and now I'm going to change
few
our radio
5,000
back.
feet. Temperature, +09.
Okay, so we're good there. And we have our alignment complete now, so we're going to push our EGI to nav mode. Going to put our radar from standby, center our horizontal scan, and now we're going to go through our checklists once again, and we're going to look at the ICP. So we have our comms 1 and comms 2 checked. We need to set our yardstick, and the yardstick for the flight is going to be, I need to find that, yardstick for the flight is going to be 12 Yankee. So let's thumb in 12 Yankee. Then select and enter to change to Yankee, and sequence button to change to air-to-air. Let's come back down for our list. So yardstick is done, so cruise, allow and laser. So cruise is 3, and select to set the carrot. Allow is ICP 2, and I'm going to set the Cara for 500, and I'm going to set the MSL floor to 19500. Next check is laser and data link. So laser is list them select 5, and I'd normally thumb in the numbers even though they're already there, 1511, 1512. It just gives me puts me in a habit of making it the change as necessary. Select enter to combat mode, double down and enter 8 and enter for 8 seconds. The data link then is list enter and sequence button to go back to the intra-flight page, and I'm going to put in elements of the flight. Once again, I don't have any other elements in the package, so I'm just going to type in 21, 31, 41 and 51 just for completeness. This will be different depending on the package you're flying with. Coming back to our list, then we have a Bingo HMCS. So Bingo is going to be list 2, and I'm going to set it at 4500. Again, something that will be different for the brief depending on the briefing. And HMCS now, I'm going to need to switch it on. So you can see it's on, and it's list select RCL and sequence button and select again, and now I'm going to put the cross over the cross. That looks good enough, and I'm going to hit the cursor enable, and aligning starts, and it's done. And we can return, double left, and we can see now the masking in the pit and on the hood is working correctly. Finally, depending on again the mission type, the air-to-ground weapons may need to be checked and set up. So I'm going to hit air-to-ground, and I'm going to go to SMS page, and we can see we have AGM-88, so I'm going to switch the power on those, and also just going to have a quick look at TGP, set it to air-to-ground mode, and it's not timed out, but we have started it because we switched on the power to the hard points. Back to navigation mode, and now we're pretty much ready to go. Let's push on our page to our taxi page, our taxi checks. So EGE mode is into navigation, that's all good. Anti-collision and position lights, so I'm going to push our lights to flashing. Now ready to go. Just check the lights are working, yeah. And parking brake. So now I'm ready to go. I need to get our EPU switched off, and then I'm going to request taxi, and then our chocks removed. Ground. Remove EPU pin. Ground. Request taxi for departure.
Good morning, Mud M6. You are number 1 for departure. Taxi, Alpha, and then hold short, runway 11.
Alpha and hold short for 11, Mudhem 6. Okay, so we're ready to move out now, so I need to take our parking brake off into anti-skid, and I need to put our taxi lights on. We've already got our lights done there. So we're going to push for runway 11, put our nose wheel steering on, and everything else is good. I need to now finally request the chocks be removed. Ground. Remove chocks.
Mud M61, contact tower for takeoff. Switch to 27890.
27890 for tower, for takeoff, Mudhem 6. So we're going to push. So we're going to push to uniform 3 now. And I'm going to do my final checks. So we would normally do our EOR checks if you were in multiplay. And I'm going to switch on the right hand side my radar altimeter to on. Engine anti-ice to on. And coming back on the left hand side, I have to take my pilot out of the way to see my probe heat. We switch to on, and IFF to norm. Everything else is okay there. Switch our seat to arm and back in. So we're pretty much ready to depart now. Tower. Ready for departure.
Mudhem 6, launching a Legion of Greytown. Weight 190 at 8 knots. Runway 11. You're cleared for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 11, Mudhem 6. So that's pretty much as much as I want to go through there. I hope you found this useful, and as usual, feel free to like, dislike, comment and subscribe, and until the next time, fish out. Thank you for watching.